Hey everybody, it's the Prez, Lawrence Presman, co-founder of WagerTalk Media and host of Puck Time and The Betting Edge with the Prez. Both shows can be found at WagerTalk TV, our YouTube channel, the number one YouTube channel in the handicapping space on the planet by a mile. Dave Cokin and Rob Veno with us, and just a quick heads up. Dave Cokin joining us with literally 5 seconds of notice. You want to know how good Dave is? He doesn't even know what games we're talking about today. Let's bring the guests in. And I got to start with you, Dave. I can't thank you enough for jumping on. Tony was supposed to do this show, but his car was stolen with his cell phone in it and blah, 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 blah. So I really appreciate you stepping in last minute.
Oh, no problem. I'm ready to go. I mean, especially since we've got a college football game on here, and I'm set on every game in college football, and can talk about the other stuff as well. NFL.
Rob Veno, you're one of my favorite guests, the man with the perfect hair. How are you, buddy?
I am good today, Prez. You're one of my favorite hosts, buddy.
Wow.
You're so sweet.
Drew's number one, of course. I do more with Drew, so Drew's one.
Who pays you, Rob?
Love you too.
Hold on now. Now it's only one day a week, but you do radio with me on Wednesdays.
Have to throw Dave right in there too.
The WagerTalk marquee matchup, or in your case, the Sports Memo marquee matchup. I'm not even included in this discussion as favorite host, huh? Thanks a lot, Rob.
We have to put you right up there, Dave.
Rob,
right in there.
Rob, who
all three of you guys.
Rob, who signs your checks?
You just became number one, Prez.
There you go.
Boys, Louisville against NC State. We're going to talk 3 games today, no college hoops. Let's start with that college football game. Louisville -4. We have a total that has been knocked down a bit. There's now a 55.5 on the board. Rob Veno, where are you going in this one?
Well, for me, Prez, at this time of year, when we get down to the last couple of games, I try to, and I know a lot of handicappers try to do this, but you try to look for a game that might match up teams that are going in drastically opposite directions. And for me, this is one of those games. I like the Louisville side here. North Carolina State has just had their hands full all season long with youth and injuries, and it's only gotten worse. I mean, they had 3 players get hurt on the same play last week in their contest against Clemson. For NC State, second most freshmen of any team in the nation that have hit the field this year. I think Clemson number 1. NC State's had 32 freshmen play this season. So, head coach Dave Doran's doing what he can do. They've used guys from the scout team with their, 2 deep in order to get practice in. It kind of hinders their preparation because the scout team isn't full. And here they're going to play a Louisville team that they have some concerns about. I mean, head coach Doran was very open about being concerned with the tempo that Louisville plays at and with the overall team speed that they have. So we're going to see what North Carolina State can do here. They've been decimated at the linebacker position by injury, cluster injuries there. They've been decimated even worse at the wide receiver position, where actually, guys, they started, or didn't start, but played 2 walk-ons last week at wide receiver. So for NC State, Prez, it's really just riding out the rest of the schedule and prepping for next year with all these young bodies. We know that they've had their troubles on the road with the youth. The head coach signaled that to us way back after the West Virginia blowout, but now it's just extended all the way to these home games at the end of the year. Scott Satterfield's done a great job with Louisville. They're going to get to face a freshman quarterback in Devin Leary, talented, but really hasn't been able to do much, like I say, with a depleted wide receiving core and a banged-up OL. So I'm going to take Louisville. I thought the price was short. We'll lay 4 points with Louisville against
Dave,
NC
do you agree
State.
with Rob?
I don't disagree with anything he said, but this is one of those games where I'm looking at my power ratings and at what the line's doing. Now, my power rating, and again, this is a full season power rating, and you can argue that current form might be a little bit further away, but I only make Louisville 1. What interests me here is why this line is not doing what you think it would do, because I think Louisville is going to be a clear public side here. And yet, Circa opened the game 4. They're the first ones to put up numbers. It opened mostly 5 at 5 dimes, for instance, and has gone back to 4. Why is this line doing this? There's some sharp money, and I can't tell you who it is. I don't know. I'll probably find out within the next day or two, but something sharp is on NC State in this game. These are games that I don't necessarily play on them, but I almost never go against my power ratings, and I've got a 3-point edge here for NC State on my season-long power ratings, and the line indications to me are also NC State. Can't say it'll make my card because the eye test clearly favors Louisville. I'm not putting much into what happened to them last week. They got run over at Miami, much to my delight. I had Miami in that game, and it was a no-sweat win. But I think Louisville looks easier than it's going to be here. Let's put it that way.
Dave Cokin joining us, Rob Veno as well. You can find Rob at sportsmemo.com, Dave at WagerTalk.com. And Rob, next week you come on my show. Send me your streaks. Let me do a nice, big, fat, juicy promo for you. As far as promos goes, I got one for everybody. Guys, for the last 3 weeks or so, I've been telling you I am going to own November. I went 3-0 last night. I'm on a 39-22 all sports run. My regular package for a month is $325. You can have $100 off for the next 2 days. Head over to WagerTalk.com and use the promo code Prez100. I don't know why you wouldn't. This is the busiest month of the year, and I am simply a-rolling. Rob, I'll go to you first on this Saints game. Look, I do a show with Ralph every week, the NFL Presidential Address. We take apart every game in depth. You guys can go over and listen to my reasonings, but the bottom line for me is I like Tampa Bay here. Obviously, I think New Orleans is a better team than Tampa Bay, but I think Tampa Bay can score with anybody. I'm going to get 5.5. If this team's down by 10, down by 12, the back door is going to be wide open. They are averaging about 30 points a game. I see no reason why not to take Tampa Bay. Go ahead, Rob.
What worries me is we have a matchup to use. They played earlier this year. Saints win 31-24 behind Teddy Bridgewater. And in that game, not that the final score worries me, but in that game, Tampa Bay was totally shut down offensively by this New Orleans defense. They run the ball 22 times for 94 yards. And the passing offense, which always explodes on a weekly basis, was also shut down 15 of 27 for 158. Tampa Bay's had 2 touchdowns in that game, guys. One came off of an interception return to the 20, and then Jameis Winston hit a 26-yard touchdown pass after a penalty. And then another one came on the very last drive of the game when New Orleans -3 had the game comfortably in hand. Tampa winds up going 78 yards in about 51 seconds, hits a 33-yard touchdown pass. The 26 and the 33-yard TD pass, that goes to your point, Prez, about the explosiveness of this team, their ability to maybe come in the back door if they're behind. I just worry that maybe New Orleans had them figured out. There's a key injury here, though, for New Orleans, and probably a major reason why the passing game didn't work the first time for Tampa, because Marshawn Lattimore has not practiced this week, the top shutdown cover for New Orleans. On the other side of that coin, the number one shutdown corner, if you can have one, on Tampa Bay, which ranks 32nd in pass defense in the NFL. But Carlton Davis is their best cover guy. He hasn't practiced all week long. It almost leads me to believe that this game will get over the number, even though we've seen under money come in so far. I think over. New Orleans had a poor performance offensively last week. Coaches love to fix what went wrong the week before. I think Atlanta had 6 sacks in that game, and New Orleans racked up about a dozen penalties. So for me, I could lean toward the under, between now and kickoff time, especially with this number coming down. Now, I think I see a lot of 49.5s out there.
Are you leaning to the under or the over?
No, I would lean to the over. Despite the money move towards the under, I would go the other way and buck that.
To the under, and I knew you were leaning to the over, and I agree with you. And another thing you have to take into account on that over is Tampa Bay does have a decent run defense. I think you're going to see New Orleans air that ball out. Dave, what do you like in this play?
Look, I made the Saints 7. And bear in mind, my NFL, I'm doing really well. 38-22 college football. I've had 1 week where I was under 500, and that was only by 1 game. NHL has been very profitable, and I'm on a 10-4-1 run. Won 4 of the last 5 college basketball. But the NFL and me don't get along very well. Never have. So take this with a big grain of salt, a chunk of salt. My numbers say Saints -7. So I'm looking at New Orleans. I like taking really good teams off terrible performances, and they were god-awful against Atlanta last week. I don't know about this Tampa team. I think the Saints get him here. Again, consider the source. It's me, and I'm not that good in the NFL, but I like New Orleans.
NBA. I had Houston last night. Great ending that game. Harden is just ridiculous. I mean, and he's a joy to watch. That's for sure. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about Atlanta going into Phoenix. -7.5 for the Suns. Can you imagine last year the Suns being -7.5 against anybody? This team, I mean, I don't know what they did in the offseason. Ultimately, not much. And yet they are coming back and playing really, really good basketball. Fast as hell. Young as hell. Rob, 228.5 on the board. Both teams are like pubescent in age. Where are you going with this?
I laid the 7 earlier this morning, Prez, so I'm on the Phoenix side. Couple of reasons here. Phoenix, obviously, off of that loss a couple of nights ago to the LA Lakers, a game in which they actually held a fourth quarter lead, and then the Lakers went by them and never got caught. I think 122-114, the final score there. Would have been a little better if Atlanta was coming out of Denver and in the back-to-back situation here, but they have had the day in between to help them out a little bit with their travel. But they lose a key member. It's bad enough they're out John Collins or without John Collins for 25 games, one of their top 2 centerpieces on that team. But last night, Kevin Huerter, or 2 nights ago, had just worked his way back into the starting lineup off of injury as the shooting guard. He gets hurt in Denver. Now he's out for what might be an extended period. So the Hawks have to start over again with one of their bench guys as a shooting guard. And the key to Phoenix this season, Prez, has really been the defensive turnaround. We know Devin Booker can score, but the addition of Ricky Rubio as a pass-first set-up point guard, he doesn't really need to score. Booker can do all of that. Rubio plays good defense, too, coming from Utah. And the head coach, Monty Williams, was a little upset the other night at his team's defensive effort and said he'll straighten that out. That was totally on him. So much like, or unlike, the Phoenix that we've come to know the past few years that are 94 feet of pace and tempo, but 0 on the defensive end, this team, adding ex-Boston Celtic Aaron Baines into the middle has become just as good defensively as they are offensively. The Hawks really lack on the defensive side, giving up 124 and 121 the last 2 games. Trae Young's outstanding. We all know that. But he lacks a little bit of offensive support here. So I'll take Phoenix with their defense and their bench. Like I said, I did lay the 7 earlier this morning. Glad I did if it's up to 7.5.
Dave, have you started NBA? You don't do NBA, right? Do you have an opinion on this? No.
I've watched a little bit of the Suns just for entertainment purposes, and they've put some talent around Booker. So they look like a surprise team, but I don't handicap the NBA. I got enough to do with NHL, Major League Baseball, college football, college basketball. The whole idea, from my perspective, is not to sell picks and get the most sales. It's to win the most.
And you do that on a regular basis, my friend. Rob, thanks for coming on, brother. Dave, thanks for stepping in with no notice at all. Guys, head over to WagerTalk.com. Please use the promo code Prez100. It's $100 off of a month of my plays. That promo code will only be around until tomorrow. Make sure to watch Puck Time. Dave Cokin and Carmine Bianco is on that show. And also the college football betting show with Dave Cokin and Teddy and the NFL presidential address. Rob, lastly, me, you, and Joe Ranieri do a show every Wednesday. It's called the Betting Edge Primetime Edition. We take apart all 5 of the major primetime games. That is one damn fun show. I mean, it's just a laugh.
Yeah, no, it really is, Prez. It's the most fun. I mean, for myself, somebody who's been in this business since early 90s and basically come off as straightforward business of handicapping only, to be with you two guys on that show and get to laugh a little is a lot of fun. Joe's a riot as you are combined with him. So I look forward to it every Wednesday.
My favorite part of the show is Joe when he goes, Do you hear what he You're like giving analysis, blah, 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 blah. Joe's like,
He's
That's
quite
an
the
interesting.
character.
It's an interesting impression.
well,
Because-
am I wrong, Dave?
Well, no, I mean I haven't done enough with Joe to notice his little tendencies, but the sound you're making really is kind of the sound that I think old people make after they pass gas.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's
I
like
mean,
a
it's just,
running gag, Dave.
I've been around enough old people to know that sound.
There's like a
I'm
running
not one of-
gag. Joe keeps saying, like a fat chick bobbing for apples. You got to check that show out. Betting Edge Wednesday show with Rob Veno and Joe Ranieri. I think it's the best show we do all week, and certainly the most fun. It's the only show where I let my hair down and give you more personality than substance.
I wish I could do that.
Well, Dave,
I don't have any hair to let down.
Dave, you're like 320. I wish I could get to that age.
My father was, he hit 90 and he still had a pretty good sized head of hair. Kind of sucks. It skips a generation, and I got the grandfather's hairline.
Yeah, well, hopefully we all make 90. Later, boys.
All right, guys, take care.